What's going on, guys? It's DanBeforeTime. If you're playing No Man's Sky, you probably figured out that the Hyperdrive is a very important part of the early game. But it's also something that a lot of people are having some trouble with. So what I want to do today is break down the entire process step by step in as much detail as possible. Something to remember before we get started. Just like everything in No Man's Sky, there's multiple ways to accomplish every goal. And the steps that I'm about to outline are just the way that I went about completing the task. So let's get into it. One quick thing to note, this video assumes that you did accept the guidance that the Atlas offered you at the beginning of the game. With that in mind, once you successfully leave your first planet, a marker should appear, and this marker will lead you to your second planet. This is not something you have to do right away. I explored my second planet for a full 2 days before I even started chasing this quest. Once you arrive at the marker, you'll be met by an alien NPC. This will trigger a short cutscene and he will offer you a blueprint for a hyperdrive. Once you accept the blueprint, you'll be able to see the materials needed to craft it. As you can see here, you will need 1 Dynamic Resonator and 200 Iridium. And at this point, if you're like me, you'll spend entirely too much time looking around in your inventory trying to figure out what a Dynamic Resonator is. But after much head scratching and frustration, I noticed that there was another marker, this time for the off-planet space station. Make your way to the space station or wherever your next marker happens to be, and here you'll find one of the automated galactic trade terminals. Here you can purchase your Dynamic Resonator for about 33,000 units. Next, I needed to gather Iridium. This is a very common element on most planets, so you might already have it in your inventory, but I just had to make a quick trip back to my home planet and mine it. Once you have the Iridium and the Dynamic Resonator, you can go ahead and craft and install your hyperdrive. Simply hover over an empty inventory slot in your starship, press X to install new technology, and then select the hyperdrive. The hyperdrive is now in your inventory, but it is not charged. And as you inspect it, it will tell you that you need a warp cell in order to charge it. And this is where a lot of people start to get stuck. When you look at the products you can craft and hover over warp cell, you'll see that you'll need 100 Thamium-9 and 1 Antimatter. The Thamium-9 is really not a problem as it's fairly common. It's the Antimatter that starts getting people confused. Since I knew the Thamium would be fairly easy, I decided to tackle the Antimatter first. I made a trip back to the space station with no luck. Then I noticed another marker back down on my home planet. Here I was greeted by another NPC, and after giving me some fairly interesting backstory, he offered me the Antimatter. Now, one thing I do want to note here is that I did spend quite a bit of time increasing my standing with this race, and I'm not sure how that affected the decision to just give me the Antimatter. So at this point, all I needed was the Thamium. Thamium can be found on planets and is extracted from red flowering plants. But I discovered a much easier way to farm it. It's abundant in asteroids. So just fly into space, shoot at some rocks, and you'll have your Thamium in no time. With Antimatter and Thamium in hand, you're now ready to craft your warp cell. Now the only thing left to do is hover over your hyperdrive, press X to charge it with the warp cell, and now you're ready to make your very first jump to a brand new system. So there we go, guys, a detailed look on how to build your very own hyperdrive. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know if you want me to cover any specific topics for tutorials in the future. I love making content that you guys want to see. Thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, I've been DanBeforeTime. You've been awesome. And until next time, enjoy your travels.